CEO's life-changing panic revealed, Janitor's 12-year-old daughter discovers incredible talent. Lucas stared out the vast, glass windows of his high-rise Chicago office, lost in a storm of panic. Beneath his polished exterior, the tailored suits, the gourmet lunch meetings, the accolades pouring in from every corner of the business world, lay a fear that gnawed at him like a vice. What if he lost it all? What if his tech startup, once poised for greatness, crumbled under the weight of rising economic inequality? Could the thirst for profit blind him to the societal issues swirling just outside his fortress? His mind raced, a chaotic blend of board meetings, quarterly numbers, and a deepening dread that the comfortable world he had built could be upended by a single misstep. Later that week, he found himself unwittingly attending a local church event, meant to foster community engagement. It was a quaint hall, filled with spirited families, laughter, and the faint scent of homemade desserts. As he watched the kids perform and parents beam with pride, his anxieties fell slightly away, replaced momentarily by curiosity. And then he saw her, Anna. The janitor's daughter, all of 12 years old, standing there with confidence that belied her age. She stepped up to translate an elderly veteran's speech, her words swirling into the air like vibrant threads knitting together the past and present, painting pictures of hope and resilience. Lucas was captivated. This young girl, unshackled by the heavy burdens of life, exuded a raw talent that made his heart race. He glanced back at Carmen, Anna's mother, watching from the shadows. Pride flickered in her eyes, but so too did sorrow, knowing how easily the brilliance of her daughter went unnoticed by the powerful. Lucas had never felt so starkly aware of the sharp contrast between his high-rise existence and their daily struggles. Days later, Lucas faced a crisis that tightened around him like a noose. His startup was on the brink of collapse. Narrow perspectives within his boardroom stifled innovative ideas, his company's growth strategy had become stagnant. In a moment of desperation, he sought Anna's aid for a rebranding project. He believed she could speak to the heart of a diverse audience. Yet, their collaboration was awkward. What had he expected from a child? When it fell flat, he faced a crushing wave of self-doubt. He questioned everything: his decisions, his vision, his very identity as a leader. One sleepless night, huddled with coffee cups and crumpled paper scattered around him, a realization hit. Anna was more than a talented girl, she was a mirror reflecting his own fears and biases. The commercial success he craved was wrapped in a world he had actively chosen to ignore, a world where the voices from the shadows deserved amplification, marching together towards something bigger than profit margins and quarterly reports. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Lucas's heart raced as he sensed the urgency of change. He envisioned a larger, audacious future for his company, one that included people from every walk of life, especially those like Anna. What would happen if he fused his corporate strategy with real stories, real faces, real struggles? Facing his company on Tuesday morning would be the defining moment. Could he choose the path of purpose over profit, or would he slip back into old habits? The audience would hang on bated breath, not knowing if he'd rise to the occasion or let the weight of the past force him into retreat. Lucas paced back and forth in his office, the tension palpable. The sun shone through the glass, illuminating the scattered papers that chronicled his struggle, strategies that had lost their edge, numbers that didn't add up, a vision that felt like it was slipping through his fingers. His heart hammered as he replayed the moments from the church hall, where Anna's small voice had rallied an audience. Could that spirit possibly save his company? He wanted to invite Anna to share her thoughts, her experiences, but doubt crept in. What would a 12-year-old know about corporate branding? Still, he recalled the energy she had exuded, the way her face lit up as she spoke. It ignited something within him, a flicker of hope amidst his swirling despair. Tomorrow, he whispered to himself. I'll ask her to join me. That night, sleep came reluctantly. Images of board meetings and insincere smiles haunted him. He imagined Anna, perched on a high-backed chair before the executives, her youthful innocence overshadowed by the weight of their skepticism. How could he defend her? But a quiet voice within urged him to embrace this risk. Morning found Lucas grappling with courage. He hurried to the school where Anna attended, the bustling sounds of children's laughter comforting yet intimidating. He spotted her on the swings, her laughter bouncing off the playground equipment like music. He approached cautiously. "Anna," he called, a mix of hesitation and excitement coloring his tone. She turned, her expression shifting from playful to curious. "I need your help," he said, breathless, her brow furrowed, uncertainty flickering in her eyes, but curiosity won. "With what?" "Tomorrow, I'm presenting to my team," he replied, feeling the weight of both the moment and his words. "I want you to join me. Your voice, Anna, it resonates in a way I can't explain. I believe it can change everything." As he spoke, he watched her features. For a moment, she seemed to hesitate, her spirited nature wrestling with the enormity of what he was asking. "But I'm just a kid," she murmured, her confidence momentarily waning. Lucas knelt to meet her eye level, forcing her to see the sincerity in his own. "You're not just a kid, Anna. You have a gift, a perspective that can light the way for others. I can't do this alone. I need you." Her expression softened, a mix of pride and fear battling within her. "Okay. I'll try." With that simple agreement, a spark ignited for Lucas. He felt the heaviness on his chest give way to a rare relief. Maybe this child, with her power to speak truth in a world that often overlooked it, would be the catalyst for change. As they walked back from the school, he shared stories of his business, his dreams, and the roadblocks he faced. Anna listened intently, her eyes growing wider as if she were absorbing not just the words, but the emotions behind them. Lucas found himself inspired by her genuine curiosity, and slowly, a plan began to take shape, a framework of ideas merging authenticity with ambition. That night, Lucas sketched out a vision for the presentation. They would weave Anna's story into the company's narrative, blending her fresh perspective with his seasoned wisdom. This was their joint venture, a bridge between their worlds. As Lucas closed his eyes, images of the presentation played in his mind, his colleagues' faces, the skepticism turned to wonder. But beneath that hope loomed a looming question. Would his team be ready for such a radical shift? Would they welcome the authenticity or recoil from it? Tomorrow held uncertainty, but that uncertainty shimmered with a promise, a chance for revolution. Would change come easy, or would the old guard resist? The next day, as he stepped into the conference room filled with suits and polished shoes, a wave of doubt crashed over him. Could Anna's voice rise above the echoes of disbelief? As he glanced at the seat beside him, where Anna would soon be perched, he couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to shift, for both of them. Lucas stood at the head of the long, glossy table, his palms clammy against the cool surface. The air was thick with anticipation as his colleagues filed in, their expressions a mix of skepticism and indifference. This was a pivotal moment for Lucas, and beneath the bravado of his tailored suit, his heart raced with uncertainty. Moments before the presentation began, Anna arrived, her presence as bright and buoyant as ever. She wove through the crowd, a burst of sunlight breaking through the clouds of doubt that hung in the room. Lucas felt a surge of gratitude swelling in his chest. Here was a child who believed in the possibility of change, and her very essence sparked a calmness within him. "Are you ready?" he whispered, leaning toward her. Anna nodded, biting her lip, her eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and nerves. "I think so," she replied, her voice steady, revealing a courage beyond her years. Before Lucas could respond, the meeting was underway. As the executives settled into their seats, the room buzzed with low chatter, snippets of conversation filled with usual corporate jargon. Lucas cleared his throat, feeling a buzz of electricity pass through him. He had never felt this kind of raw energy before. "I want to thank you all for coming today," he began, sound carrying a gravity he hoped would grab their attention. As he continued, he shared the struggles the company faced, referencing the declining statistics with transparency and vulnerability. Lucas saw a few heads nodding, but many were still entrenched in skepticism. "And this is where Anna comes in," he said, gesturing towards the girl beside him. He stepped aside, creating a space for her to begin her contribution to the presentation. Anna took a deep breath, her small frame suddenly feeling larger than life. "Good morning, everyone," she said, her voice ringing clear and confident. "I'm Anna, and I want to share why I believe our company matters." As she spoke, the room fell silent. Lucas watched as Anna poured out her heart, her words painting vivid images of why the business was more than just numbers, it was about people. Her passion and clarity led to stories that resonated deeply with the team, opening a window into the emotional landscape of their target audience, revealing the humanity behind the corporate veneer. His colleagues shifted in their seats, the initial disbelief transforming into curiosity. Lucas felt hope blooming within him, a flower fighting to bloom in the cracks of concrete. But just as Anna struck a chord with the audience, one executive crossed his arms and leaned back. "This is nice, kid, but you're not telling us anything we don't already know. We need hard numbers, projections, facts." The word struck hard, a visible chill loomed in the air as Lucas felt Anna shrink back, the light in her eyes dimming momentarily. He jumped in, anchoring her, "But that's exactly it. We can't just rely on numbers anymore. The connection we create, that's what will resonate. It's about evolving or fading away." Anna regained her composure, a flicker of resolve igniting in her. She tilted her head and started connecting her points to the data Lucas had prepared, suggesting how genuine connections could lead to authentic customer loyalty, something that statistics couldn't capture. As she spoke, the tide began to shift once more. Even the most cynical eyes softened, curiosity breaking through the armor of doubt. Lucas felt the energy transform, a tangible wave of hope swelling between them, but deep down, Lucas knew this was just a momentary victory. How far could they go with this? Would they really allow a 12-year-old girl to reshape their vision and redefine their purpose? At the end of the presentation, applause broke out, though Lucas could sense the lingering whispers of uncertainty. The executive who had challenged Anna was still frowning, his brow furrowed in deep thought. "Let us schedule a follow-up, explore these concepts further," he said, his tone inscrutable. Anna looked up at Lucas, a surge of triumph washing over her features. But Lucas felt a pit of anxious anticipation settle in his stomach. They had ignited the conversation, but would it lead to genuine change, or would it die beneath the weight of routine? As they walked out together, Lucas couldn't shake the feeling that they had only just begun to scratch the surface of something monumental. He turned to Anna, her joy radiating off her face. "You were amazing," he said, pride swelling in his chest. But as he smiled, doubt seeped back in. What would happen in the next meeting? Would they be dismissed, or would they transform how business was done? The echo of applause rang in his ears, but beneath that, the whisper of uncertainty loomed. What happened next would determine everything. As they stepped into the hallway, the world outside felt different. The muted buzz of the office faded into the background, replaced by the distant hum of traffic and chatter from the streets below. Lucas took a deep breath, letting the fresh air fill his lungs, and glanced at Anna. She danced on her toes, her excitement infectious, yet he couldn't shake the weight of what still lay ahead. "Anna," he said cautiously, "that was just the first step. The hardest part is still to come." She glanced up at him, her expression shifting. "But we did good, didn't we?" They listened. "And that guy, he said we should discuss it more." Lucas nodded, trying to mirror her enthusiasm. "Yes, but we need to prepare even more. We can't let them down now that they're curious. We need to show how this can really work." Anna smiled, determination sharpening her young features. "I want to help. What do we do next?" They settled in a corner of the lobby, Lucas pulling out his laptop while Anna moved closer, her small hands resting on the table, eager and ready to brainstorm. "What if we create a campaign that highlights the stories of our customers? Those who benefited from what we offer. He nodded, impressed by her insight. Absolutely. Real stories can connect with people. It can make what we do feel personal. As they fleshed out ideas, forms of storytelling bubbled between them like warmth rising from an evening fire. Lucas proposed capturing testimonials, and Anna excitedly suggested short video clips, showcasing the lives changed through their company. Lucas felt alive again, breathing in her optimism. Before long, they were deep in conversations about themes, visuals, and potential partners to reach broader audiences. But as the ideas flowed freely, a shadow crept back into Lucas's thoughts. It was the meeting's aftermath that worried him. What if the board craved numbers, projections, and hard data even more soon? How would they react if he openly shifted gears to a new strategy? Lucas had seen the board discount heartfelt engagement for cold profit and loss reports before. Just as the excitement peaked, his phone vibrated on the table, shattering the moment. It was a notification, a calendar reminder for the follow-up meeting. The date loomed like a storm cloud on the horizon. Anna, he said slowly, this follow-up is only a week away. We have to present something solid, something that pushes them to believe in what we can do. Her brows furrowed in thought, and he could see the wheels in her head turning. This was why he admired her. She never backed down from a challenge, even when the odds felt stacked against her. What if I talked to some of my friends at school, she suggested suddenly. They use our products too. They could help me share their stories. Lucas grinned, inspired by her initiative. That's perfect. Yes. Let us gather their testimonials, statistics from our side, and make our case more impactful. With every idea they traded, Lucas began to see the outlines of a presentation even brighter than the last. Their passion made time slip away, and he didn't notice the hours passing until the sun dipped low in the sky, but as he closed the laptop, confidence replaced the gnawing doubt in his gut. They were building something meaningful together, and could perhaps bring about a shift. Anna, we can do this, he declared, a surge of hope washing over him. Then, a chilling thought struck him, halting the smile on his face. What if the executives were still unyielding in the face of their efforts? What if the stories fell flat, dismissed again under layers of analysis? Would this entire venture be just another fleeting moment in corporate meetings that made big promises but delivered little? Anna was oblivious to his inner turmoil, still glowing with excitement. Tomorrow then? We'll start in the morning. Yes. He replied weakly, but deep inside, a flicker of uncertainty loomed. The battle was far from over. They had lit the spark, but would the fire catch on? As they parted ways that night, Lucas couldn't shake a lingering thought. They were aiming high, but was the world ready for a 12-year-old girl to change how business was done? The next morning broke bright and clear, the sun streaming through the window of Lucas's small apartment. He could hear the distant sounds of the city waking up, cars rumbling, birds chirping, and the echo of footsteps on the pavement below. But all that filled his mind was the urgency of their mission. Anna needed to feel supported and empowered today. That he grabbed his phone, double-checking the time. It was early, but excitement coursed through him like adrenaline. He texted Anna, "Good morning. Ready to change the world?" Moments later, her response lit up the screen. "Can't wait. I'm bringing my friends." Lucas's heart raced. This was it. The moment they would reach out beyond the boardroom and into the lives of the youth that could bring tangible stories to their presentation. He gathered his things, his mind swirling with thoughts of how they could weave personal stories into something bigger. When they met at the coffee shop, Anna arrived, her expression bright, a whirlwind of energy. Behind her, three friends trailed, giggling and whispering amongst themselves, their curiosity piqued. "Lucas, this is Hannah, Jade, and Mia." Anna introduced her friends with pride. "Hey, everyone. Thanks for coming," he said, his nervousness settling into a casual grin. They all settled around a table, eyes wide and expectant. Anna wasted no time. "We're going to talk about how our products help you every day. We want to share your stories with videos." The girls looked at each other, some nodding excitedly and others squinting in uncertainty. Mia, the quietest of the group, spoke up first. I like your app because it helped me save time on my homework. It's actually useful. Exactly. Anna clapped her hands, that essay perfect story. What if we film you talking about that? Lucas watched the energy shift. Mia flushed with a mix of pride and surprise. Even the most timid voices could shine when given a platform. Can we do it here? Jade asked, fidgeting with her phone. I think it'd be fun. Sure. Let us do a practice run, Lucas suggested, trying to suppress his nerves. He turned on the camera as Anna prompted each girl to share why they loved the products. Lucas felt his heart swell with anticipation with every word they spoke. These were real stories, genuine connections, exactly what the board needed to see, but then, just as they were gaining momentum, an unknown knot began to tighten in his stomach again. What if this wasn't enough? What if the board still didn't see the value in these stories? Anna must have sensed his momentary hesitation. Lucas, why are you worried? We're doing great. I guess I just want it to be perfect, he confessed, struggling to keep the tremor out of his voice. Nothing is perfect. Anna replied, a slight laugh escaping. But our stories will be real, and that's what matters. For a brief moment, Lucas was overwhelmed by her optimism. She had a way of cutting through the worry and touching the heart of things. Somewhere along the line, he had let the expectations of adulthood drown out the magic of authenticity. With a deep breath, he focused on the girls again. They were unwinding, their laughter filling the air. The worry dissipated. Maybe perfection wasn't the goal, connecting genuinely could lead them somewhere that mattered. As they wrapped up the session and the girls cheered about their successes, Lucas marveled at how quickly Anna had transformed her friends into confident storytellers. Perhaps this was their way forward. He glanced at the clock, heart racing. They still had so much to do. This was merely the beginning of their journey. Okay, team, that was amazing. We need to compile these, get ready for the editing, and before he could finish, a flicker of insecurity creeped back in. What if the rawness of these stories couldn't stand against the cold metrics of the corporate world? What if, after all this, he let Anna down? The energy around the table buzzed, but Lucas felt a tempest brewing within him. Was he ready to face the board with these heartfelt stories, risking both his and Anna's dreams? Lucas? Anna's voice sharpened his. Focus, cutting through the haze. What's next? He realized the moment had arrived to decide, could the stories they gathered truly shift perspectives, or would the corporate machinery grind it all down, leaving them disheartened? Let us not just be ready, let us be fearless, he found himself saying as a new determination rose. As they began the editing process, Lucas wondered if the greatest challenge was still ahead or if they had already begun to rewrite the script of their journey. Would being brave enough to trust in their message be the key to success? Lucas leaned back in his chair, watching the clips play back on the screen. Each girl beamed with pride, their voices echoing with authenticity. It felt electric, their stories pulsated with a life he had only glimpsed in board meetings and numbers on spreadsheets. Yet, that nagging doubt still lingered, demanding attention. Anna, we need to make sure we blend these stories with some solid stats too, he urged, attempting to balance the emotional clips with data. I mean, the board likes seeing numbers, right? She narrowed her eyes playfully, leaning closer. And I want to put heart into this. They need to feel what these girls are going through. Numbers can't tell that story. Lucas opened his mouth to argue, but the strength of her conviction silenced him. She believed in this. And for a moment, he found solace in her unwavering passion. Let us put it this way, Anna continued, infectious excitement in her voice. We can show the stats, but let us not drown out the warmth of these stories. It's all about balance. They can't ignore the reality we're bringing to the table. Okay, balance it is, he said, smiling despite the deep breath he took. With newfound determination, they worked side by side, selecting clips, deciding which snippets would resonate most. The coffee shop felt alive. The laughter of the girls had given way to the pulse of creativity. They were building something bigger than themselves. As the sun dipped, casting long shadows across the table, the energy began to shift. Anna's friends headed out, their wild thoughts spilling out into the cool evening. Each goodbye held promises of check-ins, support, and hope. Lucas's heart swelled as he realized they had created a little community in a few short hours. Once it was just the two of them, the atmosphere became charged, humming with possibility. What if we added more voices? Anna asked, her eyes sparkling. What if we reached out to other girls in the area, invited them to share their stories? We could create a real movement. Yeah, but what if we overwhelm ourselves? Lucas replied, anxiety creeping in. What if we can't handle it? Anna shot him a look, a mix of determination and disbelief. What if we gathered 100 stories? 1,000? Each one valuable and unique. Lucas, the impact could be massive. Massive scare me, he muttered, his heart racing at the thought of stretching their network even wider. Or it could empower us. She countered, leaning forward, her intensity drawing him in. Every story resonates with someone. Imagine the connection we could forge. Lucas felt the heat in her words, like a call to action. His heart thumped, an echo of doubt colliding with a spark of hope. If they could genuinely empower those voices, perhaps they could touch souls, and the board couldn't deny that. What if we hold a community day? He suggested, glancing out at the now dimming city, as night fell. Invite girls to share their stories, maybe even host a contest. The best stories could feature in our presentation. Anna's face lit up. Yes. We can merge their creativity with ours. It's a chance to amplify their voices. The idea hung in the air like fireworks about to ignite. But with every excitement, Lucas felt a weight. What if they invited disappointment instead of connection? The pitch to the board loomed larger, and success felt fragile, like a candle flickering against the wind. Are we ready for that? He asked, fear skimming his tone. Aren't we already achieving something? Anna replied softly, leaving the question unanswered, hanging between them. The answer seemed just out of reach, like a breath he couldn't quite catch. As they stood to clean up their workspace, Lucas's stomach churned. Their journey was beginning to feel both exhilarating and daunting. What was he really capable of? Lucas, Anna paused, looking directly at him. Are we brave enough to take this leap? Suddenly, he felt the weight of their ambitions rest heavy on his shoulders. Were they ready to invite uncertainty, risking it all for the chance to create something real? Let us embrace it, he murmured, though his heart quaked at the thought. As they prepared to put their plans into action, Lucas wondered whether the leap would solidify their dreams or shatter their hopes. Could they build something beautiful together, or would the world prove too harsh? That night, when he left the coffee shop, uncertainty trailed behind him like a shadow. What lay ahead could change everything. Would they find the courage to share their vision, or would it slip through their fingers like sand? The following days buzzed with excitement and nerves. Lucas found himself checking his phone every few hours, waiting for Anna's updates about their community day. Each message from her was a mix of enthusiasm and unfiltered joy. She was reaching out to parents, schools, and community centers, spreading the word like a wildfire. Lucas, however, felt a weight in his chest. The thought of inviting more stories felt overwhelming, and every time he sat down to think about it, he was gripped by a familiar fear. He pictured the board meeting. Would they scoff at their grassroots approach? Would they see this as just another PR gimmick? The possibility made him queasy. On the day of the event, the sun broke through the clouds. It seemed the universe was on their side. Lucas arrived at the park 30 minutes early. He set up tables and chairs, glancing up every few moments to see if Anna was on her way. Just breathe, he said to himself, brushing away stray thoughts. This was their moment, after all. When Anna showed up, she lit up the space, bringing a burst of energy. "Look at all the girls. They're already here," she exclaimed, pointing to a cluster of excited adolescents hovering near the sign-up board. Lucas felt a flicker of optimism. They set to work, helping girls log their names and share their stories. The stories spilled out a mosaic of emotions. One girl, Elena, shared how she conquered her fear of public speaking, while another, Zara, talked about standing up against bullying. Each tale felt like a thread weaving into a larger tapestry. As the day unfolded, Lucas watched Anna with awe. She moved through the crowd, her laughter ringing like music. She was completely in her element, inspiring girls with each anecdote and kind word. But then, he stumbled upon a moment that caused his breath to hitch. Towards the back, a girl sat apart from the others. Quiet and withdrawn, she twisted her hair nervously as her eyes darted around. He felt an urge to reach out. What if her story could spark something in the others? "Hey there," he said gently, kneeling beside her. "What is your name?" "Jess," she whispered, looking down at her shoes. "Hey, Jess, I think you're brave for being here today. Want to share your story?" She shook her head, tears beginning to pool in her eyes. I don't know if it's enough." Lucas swallowed hard. The vulnerable expression on her face tugged at his heartstrings. He leaned closer. "Every story counts, Jess. It's valuable just because it's yours. You'll be surprised how many people will connect with what you have to say." The emotional tension in the air shifted subtly. He noticed Anna had sensed them and was gliding over, her presence a comforting bridge. She knelt down beside them, her voice soft but unwavering. "Jess, I felt just like you when I first started sharing my story. It can be scary, but you're not alone. We believe in you." At that moment, Jess looked up, doubt replaced by a spark of courage. "Okay. Maybe I can try." As they walked towards the crowd together, Lucas felt the static energy of hope rise in the air. This was what they had aimed for, a movement, a realization that there was strength in vulnerability. If Jess could take that step, others would too. But as he stood there, captivated by the scene, the shadow of doubt didn't fade entirely. The board meeting loomed ahead, and what would happen if they didn't resonate with them? "Do you think this will actually work?" Lucas murmured to Anna, who stood beside him, eyes glazed over with a blend of pride and worry. She turned to him, unyielding. "Are you kidding? This is just the beginning, Lucas. We have to trust the process." Her words pulsed through him. Could their event spark a real change? Could they make genuine connections, or would they be met with indifference? As Jess began to speak, her voice trembling but steady, Lucas felt his heart race. Here it was, the moment of truth wrapped within vulnerability. What ripples would this create? The air grew taut with anticipation. What if this was the turning point they needed? Would the girls' stories echo far and wide, or would they fade into silence? He watched intently, drawn into the unfolding story unfolding before him, hoping against reason that the spark would grow beyond this day. But in the pit of his stomach, a question lingered: what would it take for them to be heard? Lucas held on to the moment, the vulnerability in the air like an electric pulse. Jess stepped up to the small makeshift platform, her hands trembling, eyes cast downward. The crowd hushed, their anticipation palpable. He could feel Anna's encouraging gaze beside him, rooting for Jess just as much as he was. "Okay, everyone," Jess started, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm Jess. And my story is. I guess it's just about being shy and always feeling alone." She paused, drawing in a shaky breath. "I never thought I could talk about it, but today, I wanted to try." The silence deepened. Lucas could see the other girls leaning in, their faces a mix of empathy and encouragement. He felt a swell of pride for Jess. She was finding her voice, and that alone was a victory. "I've been bullied for being quiet," Jess continued, her confidence gradually growing. "People always tease me, saying I'm invisible. But I had a moment where I realized, even if I'm quiet, I still matter. She looked up, meeting the eyes of her peers. I just want you all to know that feeling small doesn't mean you're not strong. We all have our stories, and they're all important. Applause erupted from the crowd, and Lucas felt his heart soar. Jess beamed, the transformation in her expression so stark, it took his breath away. Anna's hand found his, squeezing tightly, and he sensed a rush of shared triumph. This was it. This was what they had hoped for. A spark ignited. With Jess's story, the atmosphere shifted. More girls began to step forward, each one holding onto a piece of their truth. A girl named Mia shared how she coped with anxiety by journaling. Another, a bubbly girl with curls named Ruby, spilled her tale of how she turned her struggles with friendships into an art project that won a local contest. They resonated with each tale, words cascading like a waterfall, pulling Lucas deeper into this whirlpool of shared experiences, yet, even amid the joy, the shadows of doubt haunted him. Would these stories and connections be enough to save their project from the board's judgment? As more girls spoke, his internal battle intensified. He fought to focus on the present, but the looming meeting gnawed at him. Would he step out of this day filled with hope or dread? Lucas, Anna's voice broke through his thoughts. Look. This is exactly what we wanted. She pointed to Jess, who was smiling brightly now, surrounded by girls. They were hugging her, celebrating her bravery, and he could see the ripple effect unfolding. Hope was permeating the crowd, lifting spirits, breaking walls. I know, Lucas replied, his voice barely above a whisper, but will it be enough? Anna turned to him, her tone shifting to firm resolve. You need to believe in this, in them. They're already healing. We just need to give them a stage. As the final stories rolled out, Lucas felt a fiery flicker of belief begin to burn within him. Maybe they could convert the skeptics, maybe they could pull this off. As the day pressed on, he wanted nothing more than to be right beside Anna, supporting their girls, all the while battling the nagging doubts that whispered in the back of his mind. As the last girl spoke and the applause filled the park, Lucas couldn't help but feel a strong sense of community resurrecting around him. The warmth, the honesty in the air was intoxicating. Yet still, his heart raced with a storm of anticipation regarding the board meeting. Was this enough to make them believe? With the sun setting over the horizon, casting golden hues, he glanced over at Anna. What if they just don't get it? What if they laugh? He asked, the worry creeping back into his thoughts. Anna looked at him, her eyes fierce with determination. Then we'll show them they're wrong. No one should feel invisible, Lucas. That's our mission. As she spoke, he felt the weight of determination shift ever so slightly. Maybe they had a fighting chance. The stories had power. They could be heard. They had to be. Just then, Jess approached them, her smile radiant. Thank you for believing in me. Can we do this again? She asked, her energy infectious. Lucas nodded, his heart now swelling with possibility. Absolutely. We'll keep sharing until every voice is heard. But deep down, as Jess rejoined her friends, the question echoed louder in his mind. Wouldn't it be easier to keep those stories safe and avoid the risk? How far could they go, really? As the girls huddled together, bursting with laughter, Lucas stood rooted, watching. Their smiles, their fierce spirit, was it enough to weather the coming storm? And was this the beginning of a movement, or just a beautiful moment? As the celebrations continued in the park, the sounds of laughter and shouts of encouragement began to fade into Lucas's mind. He found himself fixated on 3 cherry blossoms swaying gently in the evening breeze, their delicate petals fluttering like 1,000 whispered secrets. The vibrant colors reminded him of Jess's transformation, but the delight around him felt precarious. Anna was still animatedly chatting with Jess and the others, her joy infectious. Lucas felt a pang of longing to join them, but the weight of his worries chained him. What if all this energy, all this newfound hope, crumbled under the scrutiny of the school board? Gradually, he pulled himself away from the quiet sanctuary of the trees, moving toward the group. He noticed the excited chatter, the girls huddled close, their expressions alive with possibility. Still, he couldn't shake off his doubts. They might be riding a wave of emotion now, but reality could hit hard. "Anna!" he called out as he approached them, forcing enthusiasm into his voice. "This is incredible. Everyone's really blossoming today." Anna turned, her smile wide. "I know. It's amazing how sharing our stories brings us together. Look at Jess." Jess was halfway through retelling her story again, her hands animated. The excitement in her eyes shone like fresh sunlight. Lucas felt a surge of pride, but that was quickly overlaid with another wave of doubt. He had to push it aside, to focus on the moment. "Okay, girls," Lucas finally interjected, "maybe we should think about next steps. We have the meeting with the board coming up. This was such a powerful day, but we want to carry this momentum into our presentation." A hush fell over the group. The vibrant chatter dimmed as the stark reality of the meeting permeated the bubble of joy. Lucas watched as the girls exchanged worried glances. He couldn't help but feel like a wet blanket on their parade, but the urgency of the situation could not be ignored. "I'm scared, too," Jess admitted quietly, stepping closer to Lucas. "What if they don't listen?" He crouched down to meet her eyes, battling the sense of dread that gnawed at him. "We can't control how they react, Jess, but we can control our stories and how we share them. Remember today. Remember how we all felt connected. That's what we present." The girls seemed to absorb his words, nodding slowly. Encouragement flickered in their eyes, and Lucas felt a glimmer of hope pushing back against his fears. Anna stepped up, her enthusiasm returning. "If we paint a picture of unity and resilience, if we show them how powerful each of these stories are," she gestured to the girls, "how can they not feel moved?" "Exactly," Lucas agreed. "And we can practice more to perfect our presentation. Let us make every voice a part of our project. We can even come up with a theme that runs through everyone's stories to create a more cohesive narrative." The energy began to flow back, cautiously, but it was there. As they brainstormed ideas, Lucas felt warmth return. He became lost in the enthusiasm of the girls, their shared laughter and ambitious dreams. Each contribution sparked freshness, and a melting wall of doubt began to recede. But just as hope surged, Lucas's phone buzzed in his pocket, a reminder ticking ominously. The meeting was just 2 days away. He took a deep breath, realizing they needed to channel this energy into something solid, something that would blow the board away. "All right, girls," he said, a new resolve in his voice. "Let us gather our stories, outline them, and create a presentation that they won't forget. They need to see us, not just hear about us." Just then, Jess raised her hand like a schoolgirl eager to contribute. "And what if they don't understand? What if our stories don't touch them?" For a heartbeat, silence enveloped the group. Lucas felt that old shadow creep back in. How far could he push this hope before reality came crashing down? He looked around, gathering their hopeful faces into his mind. "Then we show them how strong we are. We wear our hearts on our sleeves, and we don't shy away from the truth. No one can undermine the power of our voices." The girls cheered softly, their spirits ignited once again. But inside, Lucas couldn't shake his nagging uncertainty. Would his rallying cry hold up when the moment of truth arrived and the board sat facing them? As their laughter resumed, Lucas found himself standing on thin ice, wondering if they were truly prepared for what lay ahead. What if he couldn't save them? What if this was all just wishful thinking? And deeper down, he couldn't help but ponder, what else was at stake for all of them? Spirit, dreams, friendships. If they failed, the heaviness in the air deepened, and Lucas felt that the real battle was just about to begin. The day of the big meeting arrived, and all of Chicago seemed relentlessly bright. But within Lucas, a brewing storm of anticipation and anxiety swirled like the clouds outside his high-rise office. He paced back and forth, the reflections in the glass mirroring the fight inside him. Would today be a breakthrough or just another moment lost in the corporate haze? Anna arrived early, her manner as vibrant as ever. With a fabric of excitement woven around her, she rushed in, a bundle of energy and enthusiasm. "Today is our day, Lucas," she exclaimed, her smile radiating like the sun breaking through a cloudy morning. "Absolutely," he replied, trying to match her excitement, a surge of warmth flooding his chest. But even as he smiled, his mind raced through the potential pitfalls. What would the board think? Would they dismiss the heart behind the stories? As they set up in the conference room, Lucas felt the weight of dozens of eyes upon him, the board members, polished and poised, seated sternly around the table. Tension hung thick in the air like fog, as if the very atmosphere was waiting for a spark. "This is it," he whispered to Anna, drawing strength from her presence beside him. The dull hum of conversation faded as he cleared his throat, anxiety pushing him to remember their purpose. This was not just about profits, it was about real people. "Thank you all for being here today," he began, his voice wavering but gaining steadiness as he tuned into Anna's unwavering gaze. "We're here to share something transformative, stories that can reshape our vision for this company." Anna stepped forward, her demeanor calm yet electrifying. "Hi everyone, I'm Anna," she declared, the room instantly shifting focus to her. "Today, we're going to show you how our products impact real lives, starting with stories from young people just like me." As she spoke, Lucas felt the warmth radiate from her words, and the room felt momentarily alive. Anna shared vibrant snippets of her own experience growing up in a world where every small victory held weight. She shared Jess's journey, how she found her voice at the community day, how conquering fear could inspire everyone in the room. Each story, each heartfelt nugget shared brought palpable connection and humanity back into the sterile corporate atmosphere. Lucas watched as the board began to lean forward, their faces softening as they absorbed what they had previously deemed intangible. Just then, one of the more skeptical executives spoke up, his arms folded. "That's nice, kid, but we still need solid numbers. Where's the data?" Lucas felt a familiar wave of anxiety wash over him, but Anna was quick to respond. "But that's exactly it. Numbers can only tell part of the story." She exuded poise as she pointed towards each of the girls they'd shared stories about. "These stories breathe life into what those numbers really mean. They connect us to the reason we do what we do." The room held its breath, waiting. Lucas sensed a shift, the tension easing, minds opening. One by one, they began to recognize that bypassing the numbers wouldn't mean neglecting them, it meant embracing a new approach. And then Jess stood, her quiet confidence echoing in the hushed room. With a trembling voice but fierce determination, she shared her journey, her struggle with bullying, her newfound strength, and how the products had, indirectly, changed her life. "I didn't think I mattered, but I learned that my story, just like everyone else's story, is powerful. It can inspire change." The applause that followed was thunderous. It enveloped Jess like a warm embrace, and even the most skeptical faces softened. Hope glimmered anew. "See," Lucas said, his heart swelling, "this is what we can create together. A culture that celebrates every voice, every story." Minutes felt like fleeting seconds as the board began to exchange whispers, glances filled with intrigue and consideration. Lucas caught sight of Anna's hopeful expression, a testament to their hard work. He knew the tide was changing. "Let us schedule a follow-up to explore these ideas more," the skeptical executive announced, a hint of surprise in his tone as if he hadn't expected to be moved. As the meeting ended, Lucas felt light, like the chains of doubt had finally broken. As they stepped out of the polished conference room, the air felt different, charged with possibility. "You did it, Anna!" Lucas exclaimed, his heart brimming with joy. "We did it!" Anna grinned widely, and he could see the familiar sparkle in her eyes. "We showed them what we're capable of." They walked into the bustling hallway, where people bustled about, each carrying a world of their own. Lucas felt elation wash over him. Their stories had started a conversation, a movement echoing beyond the immediate success of the meeting. "Let us keep chasing this feeling," Anna suggested, excitement illuminating her voice. We need to organize more community days. Absolutely. He agreed, energized by her passion. The future flickered tantalizingly before them. As they stepped outside into the lively pulse of the city, a deep tranquility settled in Lucas's heart. They would forge ahead together. With a renewed purpose, they would ensure that every story reached the ears of those ready to listen. He turned to Anna, pathways blossoming in his mind. We changed everything today, he declared, and as she smiled wide, he realized that together, they weren't just rewriting a business narrative, they were igniting a movement, and that, he felt, had the power to transform the world, and right then, he knew they were ready to keep pushing. Ready to inspire others, ready to unleash the voices that echoed across communities, creating ripples of change that would resonate far beyond their own lives. As they walked into their new reality, the city felt alive with promise, and they were determined to ensure that no story ever went unheard again. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support and hit that like button. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support really makes a difference.